You're listening to KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine.
The opinions and views expressed in this program do not reflect those of KUCI, its management, or the UC Board of Regents. To find out more about this talk show or other talk shows broadcasting on KUCI, log on to our website at kuci.org or check out the latest program guide.
This is Ashton Marcus, and I'm on location at the La Mirada Theater for the Performing Arts for their presentation of Rodgers and Hammerstein's South Pacific.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with?
And my name is Barbara Luna, and we are here at the opening of South Pacific at the La Mirada Theater. And I was the original Donna DeBeck on Broadway with Mary Martin and Ezio Pisa. And this is such a wonderfully nostalgic night for me. I'm almost in tears. And, you can't beat Rodgers and Hammerstein with their music. And it's so wonderful to see how this tradition just goes on and on and on. And this cast is so fabulous. Oh my gosh.
Question, back then no one knew this. Back then no one knew what this was. It was just a show going on. No one knew this would be such an iconic piece, such a war horse. What was it like when you first started performing it?
Well, when you're a child, you don't really know what's going on. It's like a playground. But the brilliance of this show is that it's so timeless. It's about racism. And the songs, like, you've got to be carefully taught. And why the relationships don't work. They're not allowed to work. It's timeless.
Yeah, nowadays we don't understand racism as much because nowadays things are pretty well interracial. But back then it must have been totally different. They must have been people are going to be shocked by this. They may walk out. What was that like?
Well, it's been 50 years, so we all know what racism was and unfortunately is. But of course, back then, I was a child, so I obviously wasn't that aware of it. Look, my mother is Italian and Hungarian. My daddy is Spanish, Portuguese, and Filipino. So I grew up not really knowing what racism was. Because I started working in show business so early, I went to private schools. I was also raised in New York City, where you had everything. You had black and Chinese, Japanese, Korean. I was raised in it. So honestly, I was not that aware. And when you're raised in show business, you don't have racism really. You understand what I mean? So I must say, I guess I was a little bit blinded to it. I wasn't faced with it.
Well, I'm really glad I met you, and especially seeing this is actually the opening of South Pacific. I'm glad that I met you.
And lovely meeting you, and thank you so much for including me.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
John Cudilla. Hi, I'm here at La Mirada Theater playing Emile DeBeck in South Pacific, and we just opened our show tonight. I think Emile is a very smart, very adventurous, and very passionate man. Cares about his children, cares about his family, and he falls in love.
I loved the performance. I thought it was beautiful, but it was a contrast between the bright lights of the scene, the beautiful island, but also the darkness of racism. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Rodgers and Hammerstein did not shy away from this material when they wrote it. They really put in some very valuable lessons about how it's only love that can conquer prejudice. And we see that very clearly in this show, and it's contrasted, as you say, with a lot of the bright, wonderful music that they wrote.
Also love your singing, very operatic. Do you have an operatic background?
I do. I trained in opera. I worked in musical theater and opera, and started training when I was 19, and I sing in concert and in opera and in musical theater.
Definitely loved your performance. I love your acting also. Even though you're a fantastic singer, you're actually an outstanding actor also.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Stephanie Wall. I'm so pleased to be a part of this production of South Pacific. I play Nellie Forbush, and I think it is an incredibly socially relevant and important story to be telling right now, and I'm just honored to be a part of telling it. My take on Nellie Forbush is that she's just misguided and uninformed, and she's doing her best, and she doesn't know, and she becomes aware of some ugliness that exists in her heart, and it's up to her to decide to address it and change or not. And luckily in this story she addresses it, she chooses to change, and she grows a lot, becomes a really special woman, I think, and it's nice to be telling that story. Yeah.
I'm just amazed at how relevant this is nowadays with, the Trump election and all that.
Right,
and, I think a lot of the reason he got elected was the white people are being told that you're going to be a minority person. The Latinos that take over, they're not a minority. They're like 70%, but they're feeling like a minority.
Yeah.
They're fighting back like a minority.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's ridiculous. Honestly, they're not fighting back like a minority. They're fighting back like idiots. It's just there's a strange entitlement and a strange fear that exists among that party specifically right now, and it's really special to be telling this story right now, especially with things like that happening in society where people are behaving so childishly. To be telling a relevant story like this is just really nice.
How do you keep the story fresh? Because it's been around for such a long time. South Pacific has been done pretty well.
I think we keep it fresh by bringing a lot of ourselves to it.
I loved your performance. I thought you were fantastic. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was our pleasure. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with...
Jody Kimura. So I'm playing Bloody Mary in South Pacific here at La Mirada. She's a Tonkinese first-generation immigrant who came to the South Pacific to get a better life for herself and her daughter. And she meets a young Marine and tries to get him to marry her daughter, and that's her story.
South Pacific is about racism.
Yes.
And I am just so surprised at how relevant it is nowadays, even though this is like 70 years old.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it's still relevant. And I think people write it off because it's such an old, standard classic musical. But it was very, very edgy for its time. And like you said, sadly, it's still relevant.
Yeah, as an Asian American, again, if I asked a Caucasian person their feeling about racism, I'm pretty sure what they would say. But what's your feeling about it? Does this bring back memories of anger or memories of discomfort or memories of racism you faced also?
Absolutely. I think what's really, for this particular rendition of the show, they changed the minds from Japs to Japanese. But in the war, that's what they were referred to as Japs. And I am of Japanese heritage myself. And so every night in the show, I've done this show 7 times now. And every night when I hear that, it's just so painful, to hear that every night. But it's so great to be part of a show that helps people look at that and start to understand how maybe to solve that, by looking at people as people.
How's the theater industry for Asian Americans? I hear that, a couple of years ago, people were changing their name. They were trying to do, there were big talks about yellowface. Has it gotten better?
I don't think so, unfortunately. I think it's gotten better for the ethnic people in general, but I think for Asians, it's been a struggle still. They're not in terms of ratio of like our population in the United States versus what you see on TV or film or stage. It's not equal, So there's a long way to go for Asian Americans, and we have made progress, so that's good. But
I loved your character. Again, you played a very racially charged character who was very, I guess, stereotypical. But you actually did it with grace. You did it with dignity also. You did it with power. You did it with comedy. I loved your performance tonight.
Thank you so much. That's always the goal, is to make her human. And I think that's the whole purpose of the show, is to show people that, we're not who we look like. We're who, we have lives, and we have wants and dreams. So, yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, once again, I love your performance. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with?
I'm Ricky Bolda. I'm in the cast of South Pacific here at La Mirada. I'm from San Diego. This is my third show with La Mirada. I did the world premiere of Empire. I was in Cabaret, the last show. I'm in this show. It's becoming a second home to me. I really enjoy this company. It's a very family-oriented company.
Great. And which character did you play again?
I play Henri, who is the servant to Emile Debec. I'm also in the ensemble as a soldier, and that's it. Henri was a Polynesian man, speaks French, basically the house servant to Emile. And as a soldier, I mean, I was actually trying to be hidden as a Asian actor in the military. So we don't have as many men as you would have in a classic production of a show like this. So, you know, they try to fill up the stage with many people as possible. So I have to do what I have to do.
I'm amazed at how relevant this story was. Because, again, I saw South Pacific a very long time ago, grew up with it. I thought, well, you're probably not going to deal with this in, say, 20 years from now. It's still being dealt with today, and it's still very relevant.
Absolutely. The racial issues among all the races, really. Black, Japanese, a lot of Asians. As a Filipino, I can honestly say I really haven't experienced it as much as other Asian races, most likely because of the Philippines' relationship with the American military, thanks to the many bases that they had in the Philippines back in the day. But you're absolutely right. It's still relevant, and a lot of my Asian friends really find this show relevant today. Even my non-Asian friends have commented how even the story of South Pacific and its racial biases is very relevant to today's society.
You don't hear jokes about, say, Filipinos are all nurses and all that, and that, they're like at karaoke bars and all that. And when you go to an audition, you don't see things like white male.
Most of the auditions that I attend usually say all minorities or ethnicities are encouraged, just because they're trying to make shows as diverse as possible. You are correct in that Filipinos aren't really joked about that much that way, and if they are, it's in a very friendly way, because again, I think the Filipino culture is more embraced by American society because they had a presence in the Philippines for so long. My dad joined the U.S. Navy in the Philippines to get out of the Philippines and come to America. My mom came here as a nurse. They met here in the States, and that's how I was born. So even now you'll see a lot of Filipinos in the military as well as in the medical field, because that's their ticket out of the Philippines to come here for a shot at a better life.
Maybe things have changed a little bit, but I do still keep hearing stories like, remember, the girl from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I believe her name is Chloe. It was Chloe Wang before.
Yeah.
She changed her name because she couldn't get a job, and now she's getting jobs, and she says it worked.
Right. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's still something that minorities have to deal with here, and especially if you have a name like Wang, that really, and she doesn't look terribly Chinese because I think she's half. So, yeah, you have to do what you have to do, especially in Hollywood and show business, to get the jobs. Yeah.
Well, I love the performance. I actually loved you. It was a breath of fresh air to see, an Asian actually playing a white military man. And I'm glad the times have changed a little bit. That you don't feel racism being pressured to change yourself or something like that.
Right, I don't, and I've actually done a lot of non-traditionally cast roles. I played Irish. I was a jet in West Side Story once in Sacramento. I played German in Cabaret when I was here. I speak French in this one. And I have a good friend who, when he found out that I was playing Henri, said he was so happy to hear that because he's never seen an Asian man play the role. Even when he's done it, he wasn't cast as Henri.
You've never seen an Asian man play the Asian man.
Exactly. So he was very thrilled to hear that I was playing that role, specifically in this show.
Yeah, well, I love the performance. I really enjoyed seeing you, and also, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. How are you doing?
I'm Michael Rothar. I play Captain Brackett. Oh, I'm just delighted to be part of this. I'm so proud to be a part of this cast with this wonderful group of actors. Our director, our musical director, our choreographer, Peggy, Glenn Casal, and Brett. I'm just thrilled and delighted, and the play speaks to today. It was written in 49 and it speaks to today. Please come and see it.
Which character do you play again?
Captain Brackett. He's the head of the base. He's the commander of the base. He's a tough guy. He's dying to get into action. He's sitting there running an island where things are kind of turning into chaos, and he can't wait for the operation to get underway so that they can turn the tide of the war. And finally he gets to do it.
You know, he plays an older man, a reflection, I guess, of an older generation, and now they're seeing this interracial theme to it. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that as an older man?
I mean, of the theme of the play?
Yeah, about because it's about racism. I mean, that's
absolutely about racism. I think it's astonishing that a musical play written in 1949 addressed those themes and addressed them so well. And again, another reason I'm very proud to be a part of it. It's a really, it really speaks to the problems that we still unaccountably have.
I love the play because, first of all, again, it empowered the women, kind of gave it a bit of a modern theme. It's very relevant right now with, say, the Trump election, and also, again, everyone was respectful. They were wrestling with their own personal demons, but that was so respectful of the way they did it.
Oh, absolutely. Rodgers and Hammerstein were well known for writing plays that had a point of view. When this was trying out in 1949, some investor to the show came up to them and said, "Hey, love the show, but carefully taught has to go." And they said, "No, that's the point of the play. Take your money and leave."
I love the performance. I loved you. You're the perfect captain. I mean, I felt like I should be marched. Thank you very much for being on the show.
But thank you for interviewing me. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Mark Ginsberg. I play Stupod in La Mirada's production of South Pacific. Stupod is the lovable goof that tries so hard to mean well, but never quite accomplishes what he wants to. He's the goofy sidekick that everybody loves.
I love this performance. You kept it so fresh because, again, I've seen South Pacific several times. Everyone has seen it, but this was a real fresh performance. How do you guys do that?
I'll tell you, a lot of hard work, and I know that's the easy answer, but when we rehearse, we really do our best just to keep it as natural and as real as we can, and it helps with an incredibly talented cast that actually like each other and are not afraid to take chances and to really get to know each other and be friends. It makes it so much easier when you're working together to make it real and fresh and a little different, hopefully.
Also, I love the theme of South Pacific. It's about racism.
Sure is.
I mean, and again, that's something that's very relevant today. Could you imagine this is like during World War II? But I mean, it could open tonight. You know?
Yeah. No, it's true. It was something that really shook the musical theater world 70 years ago when this opened. To the point where there were scenes that were cut. They cut. You got to be carefully taught because it was so inflammatory at that time, and people weren't ready for it yet. But thankfully, cooler heads prevailed, and they realized how important it is to address these issues, not celebrating them in any way, but just to bring them to light and to ask people to be more respectful of each other. And hopefully, we were able to do a little bit of that tonight as well.
Yeah, definitely. I felt very respectful to all the characters, even those who were basically, again, they had a racist streak in them. They were at least nice people. They were just lost. They just had to be taught, basically, you know, what they're doing. Hey, come on, just look. And at the end, I think things worked out pretty well.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Nellie, especially. She grew up in a small town. She grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas in the 30s and maybe even before that, the 20s, 30s, and 40s, where people didn't know any better. And she probably hadn't encountered many instances where she had to look inside of herself to see how she was feeling about the people that she was alongside. And luckily, she found that more things were important than her racist thoughts. But
I love your performance. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with
Dino Nicandros. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I'm a Pepperdine graduate. I've been working professionally in LA for about 5 years now.
Great. And which character did you play tonight?
I played Lieutenant Buzz Adams. He's a daring Navy pilot. And he runs in the crowd of Luther Billis, and he gets in trouble when Luther stows away on his plane when he's running a very dangerous mission, and he comes up with a creative way to get Luther out of trouble. So he's a very inventive guy.
I love the performance tonight. You got to tell me a question. How do you guys keep this fresh? Because the South Pacific has been around for such a long time. I'm sure you've seen it as a kid millions of times. How do you keep it fresh?
Well, some of the themes it deals with, unfortunately, are still very prevalent. And the story revolves around Nellie Forbush learning how to accept race, really. I mean, that's an oversimplification, but... And I think we're also in danger of forgetting the baby boomer generation, World War II, and how it continues to shape the world even 70, 80 years later. So I don't think it'll ever go out of style, really.
Again, I love the performance. I love the contrast between the bright stage and the tropical scene, and also the ugliness of ignorance and racism. Yeah. But also, I love the simplicity of their love back then, which is just love at first sight, which is just kind of a little outdated. But then also you mix that in with love at first sight with a person of different race. Then is it suddenly so dated,
No, and I mean, all the credit has to go to Glenn Casal, our director, and he kind of stripped away a lot of the quote-unquote musical theater aspects of it, and he likes to say it, but play the play. Every word was written for a reason, and it's all important, and it all has meaning, and if it means something to us, it will mean something to the audience, and that keeps it fresh.
Well, once again, I love the performance tonight, and I always love you and your performances. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks so much.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Brent Schindel. I played Commander Harbison. It's good to be back here at La Mirada. I've done a couple of shows here, including the Broadway tour of Jesus Christ Superstar several years ago, so this is a great theater. It's great to be back.
Okay, and which character did you play again?
I played Commander Harbison, one of the commanding officers on the island. He's a guy who's trying to keep the men together, keep their morale up. The war is not going well. When the play starts in 1943, they're losing the war, and the men's morale is sagging, and we're trying to get a big operation underway. And Lieutenant Cable comes in with that plan, and we're trying to get it going. And I think by the end of the play, my character says, we're going the other way. And I think that shows that the tide of the war has finally turned. So it's a piece of good news in the play.
If my viewers decide to come out and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
It's a wonderful romance. It's a wonderful wartime story. It's got gorgeous music, some of the best music ever written for the stage, and a whole cast of just wonderful characters from the original James Michener novel, Tales of the South Pacific. It's just one of the best plays that I think that was ever written for Broadway.
I love the theme about racism because it's a very mature topic. It's actually very relevant to today also.
Yes, it's so timely, and they wrote this in 1949, and it must have just shocked audiences at that time. But the fact that it still packs a punch today, I've heard that already from our audiences, that people still feel like this message, comes home, and it never goes out of style. It's just an important message that we can never get tired of hearing.
Yeah, I agree. Plus also the contrast between, well, first of all, a very simplistic type of love at first sight, which a lot of people think is very old-fashioned, outdated. But then again, also the modern issue of racism that, you're carefully taught to hate people.
Right.
It's just a very ugly message.
I think what's great is that the characters that you see grappling with racism are very likable people. They're very normal people that we can all relate to, and they're really great people in every other thing, and they're forced to confront that they're more prejudiced than they thought they were. they're not just kind of ugly, cartoonish bigots that we don't even identify with. They're very much like you and me, and it forces us all to confront that we all have that prejudice in ourselves, and we don't even realize it's been taught in us, inculcated in us from an early age, and everybody can learn from that lesson.
I love the performance tonight. I thought you were fantastic.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for being on the show.
Oh, you bet. My pleasure.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with
Brian Shaw. Hi, everyone. We just finished South Pacific, and it was a really fun time tonight. We opened with a wonderful audience supporting us, and yeah.
And which character did you play?
I played Eustace Carmichael, Lieutenant Eustace Carmichael. He's a Southern boy. He dropped into the South Pacific about a year ago, and he is a jokester, and he makes fun of all the other guys.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
Oh, they should expect to see a beautiful production of South Pacific, stunning visually, of course, beautiful singing, wonderful acting, and a touching story about racism and how it can affect people and how people can change, and leave the theater really thinking about those sorts of things.
I love this production. It was fantastic. It was very fresh. How do you guys keep it fresh? Because it's been around for 70 years.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the timing and the pacing of the piece, and making sure that we're on top of it and being urgent every time we go on stage, and reminding ourselves that we're telling a story that's important still and relevant, and I think it's always been relevant, and it's just a matter of taking those stories from each song and applying it to our lives personally, so we can go on stage and just share that story with others.
Well, I love the performance. I thought there was a contrast between the beauty of the stage, the bright colors, and kind of the darkness of what was going on at the time.
Yeah.
Not only the war, but the glamourness of the war, but also the tragedy of the war.
Yeah.
It was just beautifully done. It was fresh.
Thank you.
It was very timely for our times. I love the dancing. I love the movement.
Thanks.
I loved everyone's professionalism.
Thank you so much. We're having a good time up there, so I'm glad that you enjoyed it as well.
Okay. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. I'm here with
Hajin Cho. I am in the La Mirada production of South Pacific, and I play the role of Liat, and we run till mid-May.
Okay, what's your take on your character?
Oh, I think her story is so tragic and beautiful, and the kind of approach we had was that their love was all consensual, and it was love between two people that really loved each other, and unfortunately it had a very vastly different ending than the other two leads who love each other. So it just goes to show how someone from the North who's educated and comes from a liberal background still has those prejudices bred in him that he couldn't see aside, whereas the woman from the South who calls herself a hick was actually able to change and grow from those prejudices. So yeah, it's about two love stories paralleling each other, and our ending is unfortunately quite sad.
As an Asian American woman, basically, what's your opinion about the racism of this story?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, these are very, very different times than the times we live in now, and it's hard to believe that someone could have those deeply embedded racial prejudices. But as an Asian in this show, I think our story is even more relevant to tell nowadays with our current political climate, and I think it's just important to share this story and say, hey, interracial marriage, interracial relationships are actually quite normal. We're not harming anyone. Two people love each other. Let them do whatever the hell they want.
Also, your character really didn't have a whole lot of vocal lines to it. So how did you address this? I mean, how did you prepare for this role? A lot of movement, a lot of dancing. Oh, what was it?
We did a lot of scene work, so there were a lot of intimate rehearsals. The director and Matt Roselle and I, who played Cable, he and I, just for hours, we worked our relationship, talked about our backstory. Normally, I think traditionally it's done where Cable is quite predatory, and he's the one that makes advancements towards Liat. But in this production specifically, we wanted it so that Liat makes a clear position that she wants to be with Cable. That's why she walks towards him. And just to show that Asian characters don't have to be subservient and meek and mild. She holds agency over her own life, and that was actually quite empowering to work on. Although she has no lines, but that's why the stakes are so much higher in our scenes, because they count so much because we have so little time together. So, yeah.
Well, I love the performance tonight. I love you and also. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for coming out.
Rodgers and Hammerstein's South Pacific will be playing at the La Mirada Theater for the Performing Arts from April 20th to May 13th. For more information, go to www.lamiradatheater.com.